All righty. SmackDown that just happened, not even 24 hours ago. On October 14th, we must give equal time to the WWE here now that we've gone over AEW's misgivings and shortcomings. And there was a couple of things on this program that I liked, a couple of things I'm not sure what's going on. But did you see the very open of the show? They start out in the parking lot, and there's Karrion Kross and Scarlett, and they're kind of selling and bent over. There's a car that's run into another car. It's a fender bender. There's steam coming off of it. The alleged security are there taking down statements, and all of a sudden, here comes Drew McIntyre and jumps on Karrion Kross and beats the bejesus out of him. And there were people there, and Adam Pearce was there, and they're trying to get him apart, and it was violent, and it was chaotic, and it didn't last too long. They were serious about it. That's if the only drawback to this was that we've seen everybody, major talent, minor talent, no talent, fighting in parking lots and et cetera, and backstage like this on every show, which is why that it now doesn't mean anything anymore. But when you get main event guys like this that looked serious and didn't last too long, and they tried to go a few extra feet to make it look like something, this is why this would have impact and connect with people if they didn't see it on every program. But they did this well. And then they immediately start the program with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, the New Day, coming out singing and dancing and joking in the aisleway and doing their thing, and it's completely different fucking tone. You go from, this is wrestling, these guys are going to beat the shit out of each other, to what the fuck is this? High school community drama.
That's what happened to me. I was kind of getting into it just from the opening segment because it was a little bit of a different feel and a look to what they would usually do to start a show. They're trying to heat up this program. They've already had Fire and Mace. Now, some sort of car accident. I saw a car crash. My first thought was, oh, Jeff Hardy's back. But they go from this to the New Day. And I'm not a New Day fan, as everyone knows, but like you said, the tone, even if you are, you go from something serious to grown men acting like children. That's where you lose me.
Well, it didn't last too long right there. They did their interview, and the first match going to be Kofi against Sammy. And Sammy's in the back with Jey Uso and Solo, and they're talking about the recent events, and Roman calls on the phone. And Roman tells Jey that he better not screw up like he did last Monday. Sammy needs to win this thing tonight. And again, Sammy's great. So they go to the ring, Sammy and Kofi. And the bell rings for the first match. It's 9 minutes into the show. And they go 30 seconds of action and they go to the break. And I'm, so again, they make sure to let everybody know that the talking and the music and the tapes are important, but the matches, well, that's time to go get a sandwich. So they come back and they had a good match. And like I said, Sami Zayn is great. Both the personality that he's showing in this and his work has always been good. As I've mentioned many times, he was just a pain in the ass when he was a mute luchador. But both guys are painfully thin in this, and Sammy's working with the T-shirt and et cetera. And I know the T-shirt's part of the deal, but it starts to look, the visual is a little, Anyway, they went through another break. And finally, they did a finish. And again, great timing and great positioning on the finish. Kofi rolls Sammy up, but Jey reached in with a kick behind the referee's back and reversed the roll up 1, 2, 3, and Sammy won. And Jey did what he was supposed to do. And of course, Sammy's hot dogging, and the finish was fine. And there's nothing wrong with the match. It's just, again, I think this audience, their audience, has been conditioned that the match is the least important thing of the proceedings. What'd you think?
I'm into the Sami Zayn story with Jey Uso. Jey Uso's been great. Solo Sikoa's actually been pretty good in his role, too. But I can't stand the New Day. And I know a lot of people there love all three members. because of the way they've been used and the way they've embraced being used, I just don't like it. It's not for me. So I kind of tuned out or zoned out of this match.
Well, by the time that they went back into back to Triple H, who now have we noticed that apparently the evil regime is a thing of the past. Apparently they finally realized, maybe they all realized all along, but they couldn't convince Vince.
Bingo.
Well, that's because it's been 25 years. And the reason why they find themselves in this position, not only having lost viewers, but also having lost the goodwill of the fans and having to, I mean, let's face it, if this was the WWE of old, the contest as it is between them and AEW wouldn't be nearly this close. If they hadn't run off several 100,000 devoted fans that are mad at the company, at the promotion, at the evil empire behind it for holding down and or fucking around their favorite wrestlers. That's the base of the AEW audience. And that happened because Vince gave him such a shitty show and presented the promotion as a goddamn heel entity for so long. So now Triple H is the benevolent father figure, as it should be. They've realized they've seen their mistakes and they're correcting them. They'll correct another one here in a minute. But Triple H is talking to Rey Mysterio. And poor Rey Mysterio, they've given him this, okay, yes, it's a hard sell anyway when you're doing a program with your own son. But if there was something to this, if they played up more that Dominic's in love with Rhea Ripley and she's leading him around by the dick.
Because everyone could believe that.
Everybody could believe that. He's fallen for this girl and she's giving him a line of shit and he's fallen in with a bad crowd. And, you know, it's the power of the pussy. And everybody would believe, but instead they're giving Ray this dramatic and unnatural scripted verbiage with too much soap opera bullshit. I think of him, I see the baby that used to fall asleep on my shoulder. It's like they're making wrestling for soft, effeminate men and fucking childish people of all ages and sizes, I guess.
Is it easier? Not that we're for scripts at all, but if you were going to have scripts for wrestling, is it easier to script a heel than a babyface? And is this why? I don't think it's easier to script one or the other. I think it's sometimes more difficult to give talent something they can say that they can get at. See, if I knew in any promotion or any program that I've ever been in charge of anybody's dialogue or producing a promo or whatever, if I know that somebody is not an artful orator, I'm going to try not to give them a complicated, convoluted story. And a lot of times it might have been easier with some heels if they had a manager where the manager could really rattle off the nuts and bolts of the thing and the heel could just put in personality without details. That was easier. A lot of times with a baby face, if you've got one that is not, again, a sparkling verbal talent, it's hard for them to go over a lot of details to make people explain shit, but you try to give a guy a promo that he can do rather than the greatest promo that you've ever come up with that there's no way in the world that this other guy can fucking do it. But again, Ray was acting and it's not, but he wants to quit. He wanted to quit wrestling. He said, it's time for me to quit. And Triple H, oh no, let's talk about this for 5 minutes. Come back here with me. And okay. Ray, you stayed with us after you lost an eye. You can't let this be the thing that chased you away.
So we're 30 minutes into the show for Sami Zayn and one of the New Day and this interview. And then they had a segment where a bunch of the girls in the back did the thing where they giggly, fake, make catty remarks to each other. and they're all standing in an unnatural sideways lineup so you can see everybody on camera. And then here came the next match, Brown Strongman against two jobbers. And again, yes, nothing the matter with this. That's really what the guy should be seen doing, because as we've talked about, old Strongman, he's limited, and his shit don't always look good. And part of it's probably because he don't want to kill anybody because he's 370 pounds or whatever. But it's limited what you can see from him. So yes, put him on TV against job guys, smash him over. That's fine. Are there no, maybe this is a rhetorical question, are there no good-looking professional athletes on the independent circuit anymore that they can get to be job guys? That the jobbers have to look like this? These guys look like they had do-it-yourself tattoos, like everybody's got these days, are covered up with tattoos, look like shit, no physique, pale, whipped puppy expressions. Are they... That bugs me. When I used to do the job guys for the WWF, I've said I kept lists of everybody that was in driving distance, Midwest, Southeast, Texas, whatever, Northeast, whatever. So you could get guys that either hopefully had both, but either knew how to work and could hit time cues and get guys over and do what needed to be done, or that looked physically like professional athletes. And there's no OVW anymore. We had the developmental talent, but anytime they were in the Midwest or the Southeast or whatever, they could call me and I could have 4, 6, 8 guys with physiques, with professional gear, that were experienced working television, knew how to hit time cues, and didn't go out there looking like goddamn, what do they say? Where they ordered it off a Wish, Make-A-Wish, or whatever the fuck. Just these generic looking bleh. It's a national TV show. But nobody that looks like a professional athlete wants to be a wrestler anymore, because the ones they see successful at it look like kids that dropped out of cheerleading class. So anyway, old Strongman beats these two guys, almost an MVP come to ringside, and MVP promoted the guy that you're not the monster of monsters, my man is. And that was it. And nothing happened. And they all looked at each other, and then we went to the break. You think they're going to be able to get anybody interested in Braun Strowman?
I'm interested in Braun Strowman versus Omos. What could that be?
Oh, boy.
I want to see those two lock up. They're both like 7 foot tall. How's that going to happen? I got to see that match.
It could be ugly.
Nice to have MVP on the show, though. One of the best talkers in the business, and he's been misused ever since they broke him up from Lashley.
Yeah, but that's like getting one of the greatest, pitchmen off the Home Shopping Network and say, here, sell this. It's a brand new thing we've come up with. It's a fucking bundt cake flavored like dog shit.
If only Lashley had him right now. The promo against Lesnar?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now that would work. But nevertheless. So now in the back, Jey Uso and Sammy are arguing about who caused the win, because Sammy said he did it on his own. And Jey says, are you out of your mind? And Solo said, I was watching Sammy. And tonight, they're hoping that Solo will be the #1 contender for the Intercontinental title in his match. And that was that. But like I said, they're correcting mistakes. And the thing about LA Knight is, I like the fact that they've realized that they committed a crime against nature, changing his name to Max Dupree, the whole male model thing, the Mansway and Mansoor. And by the way, those guys have to be so embarrassed. They're going out on TV looking like that, doing that shit. I bet you they don't leave the house. When they're home, they're afraid their neighbors will see them. But the Dupree girl introduced them, and then here comes LA Knight, his old, entrance, his old name. And they had a match, and he beat one of the male models, who gives a shit. But then he cuts the promo as LA Knight. And says, boom, from now on, and he did a new catchphrase and blah, blah, blah. I expect they'll just never mention this again. But you know me, I've got the OCD. And I would have had to have given LA Knight some reason to impart to the people why he did this to obviously put it to bed, get over it. It was the worst idea anybody's ever had. But what was the reason that he went along with it for 3 weeks? Was it that she was blowing him? And he, fucking lost his mind over a good blowjob? I don't know.
I mean, in general, that would make sense, but the idea that it would be, I'm going to blow you, now pretend you're my brother and manage these models?
I can't come up with a good, I forgot they were supposed to be brother and sister. Well, Vince would have liked that one. But I know they probably didn't want to explain it because then they'd have more people thinking about it and they just want everybody to forget that it ever happened and they're going to euthanize the whole gimmick and good for LA Knight. But there was no reason ever given as to why he did this stupid thing for 4 weeks or whatever. Anyway, maybe hey, never underestimate the power of a good blowjob, but not from your sister. We do not, under any circumstances, condone brother blowing, right? Even if they're adults.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about at this point.
Well, I forgot that
we're in the middle of SmackDown.
And the other girl used to be the sister and the brother. They did, but anyway, all right, brother blowing is forbidden in this. Here, baby, here's chicken and waffles for you.
What the hell is going on this week?
I got to give Harley a chicken and waffle treat because she's been a good girl. She sits up here and she's quiet except when she sneezes and has her allergy go on. So I'm breaking up a chicken and waffle treat unit because she's debating. Okay, there you go. All right, we got a 6-girl tag coming up next with Perez, Cora Jade, and Raquel Gonzalez de Molina Jr. against Bayley and Kai and Sky. I knew we'd get Kai and Ty back on the program sooner or later. And they had a 6-girl tag, didn't they?
That's what I saw. It appears they did.
There they did. So the next thing was Skid Row against the Lucha Suits in the big grudge match.
Please tell me you watched this match.
I did.
This was the highlight of the show, this match.
Oh, I did. What in the wide world of sports is so now they've got, it's Legado de Fantasia is the group composed of the other guy, the other Mexican guy that wears a suit besides Andre Olio
and
his 2 guys.
Yeah.
And I forgot everybody, they say the economy is bad in Mexico, but every Mexican wrestler is wearing a tailored suit. So they're now with Zelina Vega, and they're fighting Skid Row, who is top dollar.
Dollar.
Dollar,
not dollar.
Top dollar.
Dollar.
Got a dollar sign on him.
But it's spelled Dolla. It's not top dollar.
Well, I believe this fat fucking human waterbed doesn't know how to spell, but that doesn't mean that I goddamn have to be incorrect. Top dollar and Ashante Adonis and B-Fab. So the Lucha Suits are coming out second. The Skid Row has already come out and had they don't let them rap anymore, as we've mentioned. Probably got some type of blowback from the Institute for Hearing. A lot of deaf people complaining.
Yeah, another reason why they really needed Swerve back. He was the only one who could rap.
He was the only one who could rap. So then the Lucha Suits come out and the baby faces, Skid Row that is, jump started on the floor and they have an awkward fight out there. And I mention again, did you see what Top Dollar was wearing? Yes. He looks like a middle-aged fat car salesman dressed for a pickup basketball game at his kid's playground. But he's too old for the group. And he remembers when he was back in high school, he could handle that ball, make you look like a fool, boy. But anyway, this was a rotten match, but it was brief. But again, Top Dollar is trying to do the fucking 5-knuckle shuffle fucking dance that The Rock used to do, and he's trying to have personality and do the thing Road Dogg used to do with his knees before he dropped the... My God, he's so awkward, and his feet look like fucking canoes, and his belly looks like a giant beach ball underneath, as I mentioned, the ridiculous playground teenage clothes that he's wearing. He's got to be late 30s. We looked his age up once, didn't we?
I'll find out right now.
He's dressing like he's too cool for school, but in reality, he's too fat for his fucking hat.
When he did that little 5-knuckle shuffle, whatever, where he bent over and danced.
Yes.
B-Fab at ringside really reacted. Like, oh, like, look at what he's doing. Not one other person in that audience reacted. Go back. That's one of the fascinating things about this match. Hit Row have been all over TV now for several weeks, and no one reacted to them at all.
And they beat Top Dollar, as a matter of fact, beat him with a double team move flat in the middle of the fucking ring, wallering around like a fucking... You know, the thing is, Top Dollar does like to go to the beach because he likes children. And at the beach, all the kids love to play in his shade.
What? Okay, again, the comedy police may be on the phone at any moment here. Zelina Vega mugged B-Fab when she jumped up. I wasn't sure what she was going for, but I figured B-Fab's going to turn around and take a Hurricane Rana, because that's what happens. No, she just, like, shoot bulldog darts.
Yeah, the girls were stiffer than the guys, but this was short, and they beat Skid Row just, like, flat down, so maybe they've realized, what have we got here?
She looked great, Zelina Vega, and remember when Andrade was tolerable, she was the manager. She was great at ringside.
Well, she's got some experience all the way around, but her fucking cohorts.
Someone should embrace Lucha Suits, because it really is one of the greatest nicknames you've ever had, because it works. The Lucha Suits.
All righty then. But anyway, so maybe, do you think we saw the last of Skid Row there? Is that another thing they've realized, what the fuck have we done? And they're trying to back up on that now.
I don't know, but if Top Dollar, and I'm not too familiar with his work, and I'm trying to be fair, but if he's really good on the mic, and maybe that's what I've missed, make him Michael Hayes. He should not be in the ring. He didn't look particularly impressive, and he's a former football player, 32 years old.
He's only 32?
32, former football player, but he didn't look that impressive. There has to be another way to do this, because when they had them come out and rap, like, must have been like a month ago now, it was so bad, that killed any chance they had. And then since that time, the matches aren't good. They're reacting to themselves much more than any of the fans are reacting to them at all. I don't know how much longer you stick with this.
The other guy, Ashante, okay, he looks kind of cool. And I mean, I'm not a hip-hop expert or the culture of the young Black America, the sound of Black America, Motown, whatever. But I'm sorry, even my old white fucking elderly ass can tell that Top Dollar looks like a fat fucking guy. It works down at the local fucking Jiffy Lube and fancies himself I don't know. Is he cool? Is it cool that the kids call themselves in the hip hop where he fancies himself as he's cool and he's young and he's hip? But in actuality, he's old and he's bald and he's fat.
You want to know the difference? I don't think he's far off in age from where Max Caster is. And I'm comparing them because they're the two hip hop tag teams in the two different wrestling companies. The Acclaimed got themselves over.
Yeah.
And Max Caster has clever rhymes. You want to hear what he has to say. After fucking Hit Row came out there rapping that one time to whatever that song was they prepared for them, no one wants to see or hear them ever again.
Remember, we're back.
That was the song. Yeah.
All righty. Speaking of in the back, Cruella DeVille is doing an interview in the backstage area, and here comes Liv Morgan, who is now apparently the second coming of goddamn Abdullah the Butcher, and is just going to fucking viciously attack everybody, and she's hardcore. and they have a big, in quotation marks, fight on the same show as Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre did it well. Now here's another backstage fight amongst girls, and it was ridiculous. And Liv clears off a table and bounces Cruella off the table 18 million times. Old Cruella is just leaning down and slapping the table with her hands every time, like that's her head. And then she put her on the table, which of course she laid there for, so that Liv Morgan could climb up a scaffolding and jump off and do a senton on her through the table. In the back, with no people, out of an interview where the interviewer, as soon as the attack started, disappeared, never said a word, nobody came to help. This is just going on in the backstage area on the same show as they did it with their main event guys. And what lunatic thinks that Liv Morgan is ever going to be taken as a danger and a menace to society?
Well, they're trying.
Not very hard.
Where's Lacey? Was that really? I joked about it, but that really was the end of Lacey Evans.
I think it was the end of Lacey Evans. I think she's in table heaven now.
Table heaven.
That's where all the people go that get put through those tables. You never see them again because they're in table heaven. Either that or they're inside the walls with the internet service providers.
Yeah, Julia Hart went through that table, and then she put out a statement saying, "I'm okay," and then we never saw her ever again.
Seen her again. So the number one contendership for the Intercontinental title was on the line in a four-way match with no disqualification. Ricochet versus Sheamus versus Solo versus Rey Mysterio. And when this came on, there was 30 minutes left in the show, and I said, oh, hell no. It's a four-way. We know that it's going to be a mess. I'm going to skip ahead to the good part and see what happens. And after about 15 minutes, Sheamus had a cloverleaf on Solo, and that's where the Brazilian tap that we talked about earlier in today's program was attempted to be explained by Michael Cole, not as well as it was explained by our emailer. As I said, somebody's got to go back and get a transcript because I've forgotten. I think I've already deleted this. But if you can transcribe what was said about the double tap and then read it out loud, if you didn't know, you still wouldn't know. But because I had previously seen the email and knew, I kind of got where they were going. But the whole thing's odd. Anyway, Sheamus gets a cloverleaf on Solo, but lets the cloverleaf go to fight off Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, who just jumped in the ring, because even though they're not in the match, it's no disqualification. So everything, and then here comes Butch and here comes Ridge, and now there's a big fight with everybody. And in the middle of all that, Rey Mysterio and Ricochet were in the ring, and Rey gives Ricochet, I've never seen this before, a flipping forward pile driver, is the only way I can describe it. And then, like that would have been a hell of a fucking finish. Boom, he planted him right on his head like a fence post. But then Ricochet feeds over to where he can set up himself up for the 619. He takes a 619, and then Mysterio splashes him off the top rope, 1, 2, 3. So in the middle of this big Donnybrook going on outside amongst everybody else, they're still wrestling in the ring, and Rey gives this guy 3 finishes in a row and then beats him. So the guy that wanted to quit the business an hour and a half ago is now the number one contender to the Intercontinental title. Maybe Triple H took him in the back and said, hey, I've got you figured in to go over in the match. Then he said, oh, if I don't have to do a job, I won't quit the business. Did I miss anything in this match, or was it the same thing that we see in every fucking four-way with no disqualification? Lazy booking?
Yeah, four-way is one of those things that makes me zone out nowadays. Sick of it.
All right. Well, then we get to the main event of the evening. No, not that match. Because, again, the WWE is always in a position where an interview or a Legends reunion is more attractive to the viewers than an actual wrestling match. So the Bray Wyatt return was in the main event spot. Brian, what do you think I thought about Bray Wyatt's interview?
I think you were reminded of what we thought about him before he left, which was he clearly is a talented orator. He clearly has things he is looking forward to saying and doing. And this doesn't belong on a wrestling show, and it never goes anywhere. And am I close?
You started out real good, and then you trailed off. Because this was the best thing I saw on any of the wrestling shows.
What?
That's what I said. I'm not talking about... the entrance is fine. He didn't teleport anywhere. He didn't appear from another dimension. It's an entrance. And WWE does entrances better than anybody. And you can trace, big opulent entrances going back to Gorgeous George or Lawler coming out on the horse in the Coliseum or, whatever the case. I didn't mind the entrance, spooky lights, music, fog, the forbidden door that opens, and a light from within, and a lantern and a figure emerge. You got to hand it to their production team. This is not making the wrestling business look bad, this kind of entrance. And it's a big budget production. So I'm good with the entrance. There's nothing about it that we're supposed to think is magic. And by the way, it's a catchy tune. Is that his old music? It didn't sound familiar. Is that a new song? Because they played the whole thing because the entrance did take 5 minutes.
New song.
So that was nice. He's got a vibe. People were up. They were chanting, welcome back, welcome back. But here's why I say this was the best thing I saw on either program. Yes, this guy can talk. Not only can he talk, but he's got the charisma, like I said earlier, promo charisma that Adam Page doesn't have. A lot of these other guys don't have. His voice, his giggle, his attitude, his unique delivery. That's what I like about this. I instantly knew that even if they told him this is kind of the direction we want to go, nobody wrote this for him. It's his words being delivered in his cadence. With Harley coughing again, I need you to get you another Claritin, baby. She's been such a good girl while she's up here today. Every once in a while, she'll wander over into the bathroom and go on her little pee pad. Because we're up off the ground here, so she can't get out.
May want to get her bladder checked.
Well, every once in a while. We've been here a while. But anyway, back to Bray Wyatt. The delivery, the tone, the way it flows, his inflection, and he was emotional here. And you could tell that there was some element of truth in this. I guess he's another person that's had doubts about himself or had crises in his personal life. And you mentioned earlier in the program, a lot of people have said, I've lost somebody. If anybody was going to lose anybody, if anybody was going to have doubts about themselves, if anybody relates to the wrestling programs and the putting it out in front of people, this is the one. That's where this card should be used. That's where that promo should be given, because this guy can fucking do it. It wasn't like Adam Page moaning and bitching and whining like a dork about his goddamn misery. This guy, you felt like he meant it. He said when he thought, nothing I ever did mattered, but I was wrong. The people still asked about me and cared about me and thanked me for what I'd done for them. And it was like the guy was having a nervous breakdown here on television. And it was captivating. It wasn't like again, I go back to, it wasn't like that goofy Adam Page screaming and punching himself in the head where you're staring at him like, what the fuck's the matter with this guy? You were listening to what Bray Wyatt said, and you believed that he was delivering it with authenticity and an air of genuineness. He was talking to him like Punk does, or like Mick Foley did, or like all the other, like MJF does, but in his own way. it was the same concept as those guys that can reach you on a verbal level, but in his own manner of delivery. And then he finishes up with, like any great baby face, because he's going to be a baby face now, they're happy to see. Like any great baby face, he drew a correlation between himself and the fans. He likened himself to the fans. And the same doubts about themselves and the same problems they had that they thanked him for helping them be distracted from or overcome or get past or whatever. He's doing the same thing to them. Thank you. You all saved my life. Between the delivery and the unique aspect of it and his vocal quality and the inflection and the emotion he put in this is how you draw money in wrestling. Now, I don't know what the fuck he's going to do from here, and we'll talk about the end of the segment in a second. If he's going to be set on fire again, or if, the opponent in the Firefly Funhouse is going to be transported to another dimension. Remember that one? Where they're running through like a Rob Zombie movie. He was running through the funhouse being, fucking accosted by puppets that have somehow become sentient beings. Then that's going to be garbage. But I can see now, if this was the original Bray Wyatt that people started, enjoying and liking and being fan of before you and I, or at least me, started watching, and before they started doing all that supernatural bullshit, I can get into this fucking guy. He's got something there, but it's only if they start doing cinematic or supernatural or hocus pocus that this may go down the porcelain throne. And I'll give you the final comment on the end of the video, and then you can say what I surprised you with and what you thought was going to be the case. But as soon as he got all that out, thank you, you all saved my life, boom, another spooky video comes up on the screen. And there's a voiceover with weird visuals, and it's somebody talking to Bray Wyatt, and the deal is you've got no idea who you're dealing with, but you will. Okay, now I'm interested in finding out who that might be, because is there somebody else? Who have we overlooked that could come in and fill a spot like that? Is it somebody on the roster? It would be a different way of presenting them if that was the case. So who is this going to be? And more importantly, is it going to be a legitimate personal issue, a la the days when Kevin Sullivan or the more spooky people in wrestling would stalk somebody in kind of a realistic fashion? Or is it going to be, more Twilight Zone stuff where they're throwing fucking lightning bolts at each other? Your thoughts?
He's a talented guy. It's just I wish there was some billionaire out there who wanted to start a theater kid promotion for fucking wrestlers.
Well, but if he can work and he can talk,
but he can't work. But he can't work. We've seen his matches. His matches are terrible.
But that's when he was the Fiend and he was not selling anything, and you'd hit him over the head with fucking nuclear bombs and he would come back to life and all the supernatural stuff. Can he actually work a wrestling match? Did he do that before? Could he, when they were having him do that or letting him do it or telling him to do it? Or do we just got to get a good promo and then it's a rotten match with supernatural overtones? What's going on here?
Again, I think it's going to be nothing but supernatural overtones. He did this whole interview with spooky lighting.
Well, and I don't mind that. It was mood lighting. Put
me in the mood to turn the channel.
Oh, come on. If the guy, again, from this segment, I didn't see anything that couldn't have actually happened. A guy comes out in the mood lighting and does his promo, and he's talking to people, and it was meaningful. There was no supernatural. It was a spooky atmosphere, but that's part of his ambiance, so I can get behind that. I don't know who the antagonist is that popped up on the screen at the end. I'm looking forward to finding out, and I hope they don't disappoint us by then going to fucking Hogwarts and having a goddamn sorcerer battle or something.
If I was Bray Wyatt, I would go into the truck and kick the shit out of the director. Because how did that get on the air? There's your clue to figuring out who it is that submitted this. Who is it that had access to the truck?
What has become of us here when I'm willing to work with him a little bit more on logic?
I know, what the fuck with this guy? I mean, look, and again, very talented guy. Clearly, Blackjack's charisma and way with words skipped a generation, and he's got it as good as anyone. He's an amazing talker. He's very compelling. He should start a church, or he should go out to Hollywood and be an actor. But I don't want to start seeing this again. We know how this is going to end. We know how this is going to turn out. Unless we believe that it was all Vince, we know where this is going. And that's why I'm not getting all excited. Everyone else gets excited when anyone pops back up. How Can I Miss You If You Won't Go Away has been proven true several times this year. But I'm not going to give this guy a chance. He's got to show me something as opposed to him showing up and I'm supposed to forget years and years of crap.
Well, I'm not going to goddamn, just move in with the guy and become his foot servant. I like the promo. We'll see where this goes from here. But if they can avoid doing anything that violates the natural laws of gravity and physics in a program with this guy from his interview, I'm willing to give him a chance. See, people always say I never give anybody a chance. Well, he's been gone away for a while. They burned him to a crisp. They scattered his ashes to the winds. Now he's been resurrected. Let's see what he does from here with a new administration.
All right. That's all I'm saying. Once again, the show went off the air with a spooky character taking over the Titantron and seemingly also the television feed. And he had some mysterious nothings to whisper to Bray Wyatt, and then the show just went off the air.
But now who's the mysterious spooky figure going to be? Because if it's somebody on the roster that now they've just made spooky to fight Bray Wyatt, well, that'll kind of be a letdown.
Maybe it'll be Rikishi.
Oh, come on. Is there anybody in the world of wrestling that we can think of that would fit that tease and come in and have a program with Bray Wyatt? And why wouldn't we have heard about him before now?
Malachi Black.
Oh, well.
And WWE just re-signed Bo Dallas, his brother. Let's not forget that, who has never... Whatever he can do, he's never really had a chance to do it on the main roster. So
whatever he can do, he's never really done it? Is that what you're trying to say?
He's never done it on the main roster, whatever he did to get over in NXT years ago. But perhaps if they brought Bray Wyatt back and they just signed his brother, they're going to do something with them together?
Well, no, because, okay, Bo Dallas, when I hear that name, I immediately think of a spooky figure on a Titantron. No, that would be the biggest popcorn fart in the history of fucking entertainment. It would have to be some type of name that one would get a jolly in their taint from thinking about so-and-so versus Bray Wyatt. Battle of the Spooky People. But it's a cliff. They left with a cliffhanger. Be thankful for small favors. Usually people just wander off and they play music.